Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jim Brown with Price and Common, and I want to welcome you to our webinar presentation of Income Tax 101, How to Feel Less Stress at Tax Time. I know some of you might not think that's possible, but hopefully we'll help you out and make it work out that way. Let's get started. First things first, if you can hear me and see me, please put a 1 in the chat box, just so I know that everyone can hear me. And while I wait for some of that feedback to come in, I just want to let you know as well that if you ever have any issues with the picture freezing or the sound, there should be a red reconnect box that appears on the top of your screen, and if you click on that, it'll reconnect your screen, and you'll get all the full picture and everything back. So I've got some 1s coming back in, so it seems like everyone can hear me and see me, which is good, or this would be a really less effective presentation today. So again, my name is Jim with Price and Common. I'll introduce myself a little more later, but let's get started, and let me introduce you to the agenda for our meeting today. So there's 7 parts to our agenda, and I want to talk a little bit about who will benefit from this program. We'll talk about why you should listen to me. We'll talk about the basics of the tax system, and we'll talk about tax filing basics and how accountants can really help with that process. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19 programs and how those might impact tax filing and some of the issues that they'll bring up. We're going to talk about filing taxes safely and how to use technology to be able to go contact-free and protect yourself from any of the issues that pandemics and things like that might bring about. Okay, and then we'll have a little bit of time left over for Q&A. I'm not going to take a lot of questions, but if you have a question, please put it in the chat box, and we will go over at least one question and answer at the very end of the program. Okay, so with that, let's get started. Let's go on to our first agenda item. Who will benefit from this program? And in a lot of cases, to be honest, everyone will benefit, because unfortunately everyone pays taxes in one way or another. Whether you're on a very fixed income, a senior citizen, you still pay taxes, because every time you buy something, if you fill up your tank with gas in your car, you're paying taxes. And if you're a family, you're paying a lot of taxes, but there's a lot of benefits that can be brought back to you as well too. So I like to say that basically everybody can benefit from the program, because you know what? We all pay tax. One way or another, we have to pay tax, and the government's going to get us. So I'm going to put a little poll up on the screen, and just ask everyone out there who actually dreads income tax time every year. So I'll put that up here, and when you see that poll on the screen, you've got 3 different choices. You can say, I hate it, I'm okay, or I love income tax time. If there are any accountants who are on the program, I'm sure they're the ones who are going to love it. But no, actually, I know they'll be the ones that hate it the most. But if you just respond to that poll, I'm going to give you a minute to respond, and we'll just wait for some of those answers to come in. First, I have to actually publish the poll, right? So you can see it. Okay, here we go. There I see some hate it's. We give another minute for people to respond. It looks like the I hate it is leading by a clear margin. Okay, it's definitely looking like people are not excited about income tax time every year. Thank you for your feedback on that. We're going to try to get a little bit of feedback as we go along through the program. It's not as easy as when you're in a live room with people, but we'll try to do that. Now, one of the reasons that we wanted to do this program is to help people overcome that stress at tax time. And I find that stress and things like that are caused because we have irrational fears about a process. And fear, this was a great saying that I got taught a long time ago when I first started in a sales position. But my manager talked about fear is nothing but false evidence appearing real. And whenever we don't understand a process or we don't understand something, we replace that lack of understanding with usually thinking of the worst things that can happen. And that is what causes us to fear it and to be nervous and tense and stressful over it. So I hope that this program can help us replace that false evidence with real ideas that will help you be able to feel better and not get so stressed out at tax time. Let's keep moving on here, folks. Agenda item number 2, why the heck should you listen to me? Okay, my name is Jim Brown. You can see my smiling face there without the glasses. But I'm the firm administrator at Price & Common LLP. And Price & Common LLP is a chartered professional accounting firm that has been located in the Cardston area since 2003. And we have offices in Raymond, we have offices in McGrath, and smaller offices in Lethbridge and Calgary. We have a lot of really great, dedicated people, chartered professional accountants that live for this stuff and learn how to do it, and they have a lot of knowledge that they can share with people. I myself am also an adult education expert. I'm certified as an adult education expert, and that means that I learned how to design training programs and facilitate training programs. And in another previous business that I owned, I did a lot of that, and I've designed and facilitated hundreds of training seminars and webinar designers. And so because of these two roles, I've been able to gather up some great information from some terrific subject matter experts and be able to put them together to present to you today. So I hope that will help you learn and grow a little bit today as we go through this material. Okay. Agenda item number 3, we're going to start talking about the basics of the tax system. And I like to have a little bit of fun with my programs. And so because I can't try to crack too many jokes online here, I'm going to try to give you some look at some cartoons that I like that I think are pretty funny. I don't know. You might not think they are, but we'll see. So let's get started on this, the basics of the tax system. Here comes the first cartoon. Okay, who thinks this is funny too? Give me a 1 in the chat if you actually think this is funny. I'll know I have some people out there that share my sense of humor if you give me a 1. You can put 2 in if you think it's dumb, but we'll just wait for a little bit of feedback there. Okay, it looks like there's at least one person who thinks it's funny too. Why do we pay taxes? Let's talk a little bit about this. Because I said before, we all pay taxes in some way or another. And ideally, taxes help to pay for valuable services and infrastructure that we all need. You know, we all need roads to drive on. We all need health care. We need armed forces to provide defense for our countries. These are things that we can't provide for ourselves, and so we pay taxes together to be able to afford all of these things that our society needs. And I don't want to go into make anything a political discussion or anything like that we spend it on things that we don't need or that we pay too much. We're not going to talk about that today. That's discussion for someone else. But let's talk about how our system works. In Canada, we have what is called a progressive tax system. Okay, and that means that there are multiple tax brackets, and as you move up the brackets, you pay higher taxes on the additional income. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll earn less total income as you move into a higher bracket. It just means that for every tax dollar you earn, you won't keep as much as the very first dollar that you made. Okay, so some of your income is taxed at a greater rate than other income. And that can be kind of confusing, but let's look at a little example here of some people that earn, say, $90,000 or $95,000 in income. So on a federal tax, the first $45,282 is taxed at 15%. Okay, so for both the person who makes $90,000 and $95,000 in income, on that first $45,282, they pay the exact same amount of taxes, $6,792, because they're being taxed on that amount at 15%. So if you don't make more than $45,282 in a year, then you'll only pay 15% to the federal government for your income tax. Now, if you do go beyond that, so for our $90,000 and $95,000 income earners, they now will be paying 20.5% on the amount from $45,282 up to $90,563. So for our example person here who earns $90,000 minus $45,282 is $45,192. So they're now going to pay 20.5% on that amount, which equals $9,264.36. Our person who makes $95,000, they pay a little bit more tax, $9,283, because they're also paying 20.5% on an extra $563 past the $90,000 income earner. And they, of course, get to pay 26% on $4,437 that takes them up to $95,000, which ends up being $1,153.62 in income. So you see the difference between a $90,000 income and a $95,000 income. One pays just over $16,000 in tax. The other pays just over $17,000 in tax. Their average tax rates aren't really that different, 17.8% versus 18.1%. But again, those different brackets are the big difference in what they actually pay. Okay. Now, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense in showing how different multiple tax brackets can work. Now, that doesn't mean that, okay, well, I better not make very much money. You're always better off earning more income, but sometimes only marginally. So, because you are going to get taxed a little bit more on the extra income you earn. But again, if you earn a lot of income, $120,000, $130,000 in a year, that doesn't mean you're going to pay 26% on all of it, just on that amount between $90,563 and $140,388. Okay, so there are other brackets where you're paying less tax on that money. Okay, again, for the majority of employed people, this tax is taken off directly from your paycheck by your employer. And so when you go to complete your tax return in April and file that tax return, you're basically just calculating whether or not you paid enough tax for the year. And if you didn't pay enough tax during the year, if enough wasn't taken off your paycheck, then you're going to end up with an amount owing. But if too much was taken off, then you're going to have a tax refund. And everybody loves a good tax refund, right? But getting a tax refund isn't always a great thing, because what that means is you've basically given the government an interest-free loan during the year. So when you think about it that way, sometimes you might think, well, maybe that's not so good. Maybe I should actually think about reducing the amount I pay if you're getting a lot of big refunds. If you're paying every time, then you might want to have your employer start taking more off as you go through the year. But something to think about. One of the goals is that you probably want to make sure that you're only paying the amount of taxes that you're supposed to pay. And if you can pay less tax, that's not a bad thing. You want to be able to get as much income back to yourself as possible. One of the ways that you can do that by reducing the amount of tax you pay is through tax deductions and credits. And let's talk a little bit about what these are and what the difference is between tax deductions and credits as well too. So some of the popular deductions out there include contributing to an RRSP or an employer pension program. Childcare expenses are a great tax deduction. There's some legal fees and deductions related to business and moving expenses. And remember when I talked about the different tax brackets, the higher the tax bracket you're in, the more valuable your deductions become, because those deductions will reduce your income, your taxable income. And that means that it reduces down the amount of the percentage of tax that you pay as well too, so you can keep some of that money for yourself. And remember, provincial income tax works the same way as the federal government as well too. So deductions become really important the more money that you make, because you're able to lower down that percentage that you pay. Now, tax credits are things that reduce tax directly, and sometimes the value of the benefit, it doesn't fluctuate. It's not based on a percentage with your taxable income. So some of those common credits include spousal and child tax credits. One that we used to get a lot of was the child's fitness and art credits, but we don't really get those anymore. Tuition credits, tax credits, caregiver credits, medical expenses can be a tax credit, credits for transit passes and for donations, and first-time homebuyer credits. So always be making sure that you're making the maximum use out of your deductions and your credits, so that you can make sure that you're not overpaying your taxes. Okay, we all want to do our best to help each other out, but you got to look out for yourself and your family too, and make sure that you're paying the least amount of tax as possible. And in the next section, when I talk about how an accountant can help us when it comes to filing taxes, this is one of those areas where they're especially really helpful, because they can help us make sure that we're not paying too much in tax. Now, one thing I want to just finish with before I move on from this section is that many of you may not know, but believe it or not, there is a Taxpayers Bill of Rights that CRA has to be held accountable to. And I think this is important, and I just wanted to mention it to everybody, because CRA puts this right on their own website, but they have 16 different areas where they basically are stating that taxpayers have rights. And in a lot of cases, these are rights that protect us from CRA in a lot of cases. And these are important to know about. If you ever want to go onto the Canada Revenue Agency website and look up Taxpayers Bill of Rights, you can see the entire list, because it's a little hard to read on my screen there. But some of the important ones there are, you have the right to formal reviews and subsequent appeals if there's a problem. Privacy, confidentiality, to be treated professionally, courtesy, and fairly. For complete, accurate, clear, and timely information is important. You have the right to lodge a complaint if you're not treated well. You have the right to expect CRA to be accountable to you. And they also list down there their commitment to small businesses and how they are trying to make the tax system not be too much of a burden on businesses out there, because small businesses do need to be protected from CRA because they provide so much of our economy and the jobs that are out there. So I'll just finish up that with talking about that. And before we move on, I've got another little poll. It's a bit of a quiz before we move on here, but it's the federal income tax rate goes from 15% to 20.5% once your income reaches $45,283. Is that true or false? We'll see how many of you are paying attention here real quick. Does the tax rate go from 15% to 20 point? Oh man, I couldn't trick any of you. Nope, doesn't look like I got anybody with that one. All right. Good job. Everybody got 100%. It's true. Once your income goes to 45,283, then your income tax rate moves from 15% to 20.5. Good job. Okay, let's keep moving on in the program. And now we're on agenda item 4, which is tax filing basics and how accountants can help us in this process. Now, of course, I'm speaking on behalf of an accounting firm, and this is what we do, right? So I have some pretty good ideas of how accountants can help. But I also, and I'm going to share a story with you later as well, I have some personal knowledge and experience with how accountants could help me in my own business before. So we'll keep that in mind as well. Of course, we're going to start with a cartoon. I'm not sure this is where the term tax code originally came from, but to be honest, it does seem like they're speaking in tongues or in a code when you're trying to make sense of everything, doesn't it? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the benefits of filing taxes. And I don't want to hear anybody say there are none, because there are some benefits of filing taxes. Now, remember I said that everybody pays taxes in one way or another. And so even if you're not, even if you're not receiving income where you would actually really even pay an income tax, it's still important to file your taxes every year, because that's how you get eligibility for some credits and other benefits that are available. Remember, every time you buy something, you're paying GST. So you're putting tax money into the system. And when you file your taxes, then you get eligibility for these GST credits and other benefits that come back to you as well, too. So that's one big reason why it's important to actually file your taxes. Hey, you could get a refund. That's a great benefit. Who doesn't want some money in April or May to be able to spend? Start putting something away for a vacation, or invest it. Do the smart thing. Child benefits for families are a very important reason for them to file taxes, because if you don't file your taxes, you won't qualify for those child benefits, and they'll stop being sent out. And finally, it's a lot less trouble than the alternative, because you can decide, I'm not going to file taxes for a while, and for a while it won't be a problem, but eventually it will be. And usually it becomes a really big problem. And remember when I said that a tax refund is you giving the government an interest-free loan? They will not give you an interest-free loan. They will not let you pay your obligation back without interest. There will be interest on your payments for back taxes for sure. Okay, so just taking a little bit of time in March and April, making that filing, even though we dread it and we don't look forward to it, it is a lot less trouble than ignoring it and trying to put it off for sure. Okay, moving on. Okay, in the chat, who can tell me what this is? What's the name of this machine? Let me see how smart you are, how much World War II history you know. What is the name of this machine? I'll give everybody a minute to try and answer. No guesses yet? Stop Googling it and try a guess. Okay, well, that's not. Code breaker is a good guess. It is a code breaker. This is a picture of the Enigma machine that the Nazis used to use to create coded messages to send during World War II. And it was finally broken by a group of very talented and dedicated mathematicians in England who were working on cracking the code and being able to understand the messages that were being sent. And when they did, they were able to use it to make a really big difference when it came to the war effort. No, its name is Steve. That's funny. But yeah, so I like to think of accountants as your group of code breakers that you can employ to break that tax code and be able to use it to your advantage. So here are some of the reasons that I've come up with for reasons to work with an accountant. And the first three, remember I promised you I had a personal story that I'm going to tell that talks about how this works. So I'll go over it in a minute here. But number one, it can make your life a lot easier. Because I don't know about you, but I don't have time in my everyday life to research tax code. And besides, I think the tax code, the complete document is over 3,500 pages long now. So yeah, that just makes me want to take a nap thinking about that many pages. So they make your life a lot easier working with an accountant. Mistakes can be costly when it comes to your tax filings. Because if you do make a mistake, it's not always easy for you yourself personally to convince CRA that it was just a mistake and that you're not trying to put something over on them. And I find that number three, when your financial situation has changed, that's a really key time where accountants can really help you out. And let me just tell you a quick personal story. This is years ago. I had just started my own company, a consulting business where I did a lot of training and human resource consulting for clients and companies all over Alberta. And I was younger then and a little dumber. And I decided that, this accounting thing, it's no big deal. I can do it all myself. And so, yeah, you betcha. Oh, and GST filing, no problem. I'll take care of that. Easy. Well, it wasn't easy. It took me a lot of time to try and go through things, and I made some mistakes. And one of the mistakes was on my GST, and I was certain that I was in the right, and CRA was certain that they were in the right. And we argued about that for 5 or 6 months. And I'm here to tell you that I did not win that argument. And I also learned that when CRA believes that they are right, they will go into your own bank account and they will take the money that they feel you are owed to them, that you owe to them. So that was a costly mistake for me, mostly because I'm still convinced I paid way too much GST to them. But also it cost me a lot of time and energy and worry in trying to figure this whole thing out when I really didn't have to. Let me tell you, the very next year, I immediately took all of my financial documents to an accountant and was more than happy to pay them the minimal fee to get all of that headache taken care of for me and to not have to worry about it. So think about that. When your financial situation changes, whether you're starting a business or say you had an inheritance or you sold some property or you're earning more money at work now, it's always a good idea to consult with someone to find out how to protect that and make sure that you don't lose all of it to the tax man. Number 4, when you want your return quick. And why do I say that? Because accountants have the opportunity to electronically file your return. And it has been proven by CRA themselves that when a return is filed electronically, we call it e-filing, your refund especially if you're going to get a refund, you'll get it a lot faster than if you're putting it in doing it out yourself, putting it in the envelope, putting the stamp on and sending it off to the CRA in Ottawa. The person who e-files is going to get their return way quicker than the person who does it themselves and puts it in the mail. So that's just an easy one, especially if you're, you need to take a vacation to recover from tax season. The last one, and this is the last one I put, is audit protection. Now, let me be clear. Audit protection is something that not every accountant offers. Okay, it is something that that Price and Common offers. And what audit protection is it's basically an insurance policy that if your return, your tax filing is audited by CRA, then we will pay for all of the costs of any work that needs to be done to satisfy that audit and to defend you and protect you during that audit process. If you think, well, that's not really necessary for an individual tax return, the CRA actually has a mandate to increase audits among individuals and small businesses. That's the prime people that they go after. So you're much more likely to get an audit if you're an individual filing your tax return or a small business. And we provide an audit protection coverage that's, I think it's really, I'm not trying to advertise here that much, but it's great value because it's $25 per return and you get up to $10,000 of coverage for fees and anything that, that happens if you get an audit. So if you know an accountant or if you're using an accountant that offers audit protection, that is a really great reason to use an accountant because it could save you thousands of dollars in audit fees. Okay. Let's keep moving on. Before we move on to section number 5, COVID-19 programs and tax filing, I've got another poll that I'm going to put up. And this is a real easy one. Has anyone on the webinar ever been subject to a CRA audit? I'm hoping that nobody answers yes. Don't have any yeses yet. That's lucky. Yeah, so far it's still 100% all no's. I'm just going to give it a few more seconds and then close the poll. Oh, darn it. No, we do have one yes. Shoot. Okay. Well, we didn't have too many yeses, but that's good. Or you could look at it, your time is coming. Sorry, don't want to be too pessimistic. Okay, let's move on to section 5. And here's our cartoon. Earth is closed. COVID has shut us down. Now, I know this cartoon hits a little close to home because we're looking at a whole bunch of new restrictions and different things, and we're trying to get on top of this whole pandemic and virus and everything, and everybody has an opinion on it. I don't want to talk about that, but what I do want to talk about is that because of this, it has created a whole bunch of new government programs to deal with the virus. Just dozens and dozens of new programs. And I'm not going to try to list and talk about all of them, but I do want to go over a few of them and let's think a little bit about some of the implications of these programs and what that might mean for you when it comes to filing taxes. So some of the programs here is, of course, employment insurance is used to deal with those who are laid off. But there's new programs, Canada Recovery Benefit, Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit for those who actually get sick, Canada Emergency Response Benefit, you probably heard of that one, CERB, and mortgage payment deferral, persons with disabilities programs, post-secondary students and grads, seniors, Indigenous people. Again, there's for each one of these that I'm listing, there's probably another 10 that I'm not. There's just a lot of new programs that have been created by the government. And now there's also programs for businesses as well, too. There's wage subsidy programs. There were tariffs that were waived on medical goods to be able to get them into the hands of doctors, nurses, and other people more quickly. Rent subsidy programs to help small businesses be able to pay their rent and not be able to and not lose their building or their location. And again, many, many more. And of course, not to be outdone by the federal government, the provincial government has come up with programs, things like income tax and payment deferrals. Now, remember that word deferrals, because deferrals doesn't mean that they got rid of the payments. They just deferred the payment. And if any of you were paying taxes this year and realized that payment is usually due at the end of April, and that's when you're expected to file your income taxes as well, by the end of April. But this year, the government put all that off until the end of September. And so businesses and individuals who had payments to make were able to do so at the end of September without incurring any interest payments on that, which is nice. But again, you don't get out of paying completely. You get to put it off a little bit. There was tourism relief and levy deferrals. Tourism business was hit very hard, obviously without the ability to travel very much. There are grant programs created, mental health support programs to deal with the effects of lockdowns and other things like that, utility payment deferrals, and on and on and on, for sure. So what are all the tax implications of all of this and these programs? Well, there's a lot of them, and it's another great example of how an accountant can really help out, because again, it's a lot of reading and trying to figure out what things are going to cost you and what you can maybe make a benefit to you as well. It's important to really remember that some of these programs are tax-free while others aren't. So for instance, the CERB, which some of you may have used here, CERB is a taxable benefit, meaning any money that you got from the government that was in the form of CERB, you will have to pay taxes on it, okay, at the end of the year. Things like GST credits, Canada Child Benefit, those are tax-free. You don't pay tax on any of those monies that you get. But again, just to make sure everybody knows, CERB is a taxable benefit. And I have a little example that kind of illustrates that. I'm going to tell you about Hannah, who is a completely fictitious sales representative. But we're just going to go over her 2018 income and her 2019 income and her 2020 income statement to see how CERB might affect her. So in 2019, Hannah's employment income was $80,000. She has a good sized amount of investments, so she earned some investment income, and that investment income was $3,300. She contributed to an RSP through a payroll deduction of $8,000, and she had car expenses to go out and visit her clients of $5,000. So her total taxable income was just over $70,000, $70,154. And at the end of all that, Hannah got a refund of $1,400. Now, for 2020, Hannah's employment income, because she had an interruption in her employment and she was on CERB for 16 weeks, her employment income is only $55,300. She still has investment income of $3,300. She got $8,000 in CERB payments while she was unable to work. She only contributed $5,500 towards her RSP through a payroll deduction. And because she wasn't able to go visit her clients face-to-face, her car expenses were only $2,000. So her total taxable income was $59,000 for the year. Now, that's almost an $11,000 difference, just over $11,000 difference in income. But her projected taxes are owing now instead of a refund, $2,000 owing in taxes because nothing was deducted from the CERB payments that she received. Okay. So just an example of how potentially those CERB payments could affect us, and we might have some issues that we run into when it comes to filing our taxes and all of these COVID-19 programs. Okay. So again, there also could be other possible deductions that are out there, and a tax professional, an accountant, can help you work through all of those. Are there costs associated with working from home? There probably are. I'm working from home now. I had to buy myself a new chair. My chair before was terrible. So hopefully I can deduct that from my taxes coming up. But also think about other things like interest on deferred loans or mortgage payments. And this is where an accountant, again, can help out with those. They can find out what those things are that you can make use of. Okay, so that's kind of the end of our COVID-19 programs and tax filing. So let's go to another poll here. And let me see if I can catch anybody out here. So we just talked about it. True or false? The federal government CERB benefit is a tax-free benefit. Let's give you a minute to start putting some answers in there. CERB is a tax-free benefit. True or false? Will I be able to catch anybody? Not so far. Okay, you guys are way too smart. You're right. It's false. CERB is a taxable benefit for sure. All right, good job. Let's move on to our last part of the agenda. And this is one that is kind of fun for me because I do kind of fill the technology side of things at Price and Common as well too. So I get a lot of these tools are ones that I work with on a daily basis. But we're going to talk about using technology to go contactless, contact-free. Sorry, a little gallows humor there. Contactless payments, contactless interactions, they're all kind of really receiving a lot more attention now that we have COVID-19 because people don't want to touch things anymore or meet with people face to face as much as they used to. And so when we talk about filing safely using technology, we've been looking for ways at Price and Common to help our customers be able to do that, because we do work with a lot of clients that are from out of town or from further away. And so we started offering years ago ways for our clients to be able to work with us without having to be in our office. And we found that during COVID and all of these restrictions and lockdowns, this has only helped us be able to deliver better service by offering ways for people to work with us without having to be in our office, without having to be face to face with us. And so I came up with my top 5 tools for contact-free filing. These are really the technology pieces that if you can get good at them, you're going to do really well in this situation. So first one, being able to use PDFs. And what is a PDF file? Well, first things first, PDF stands for Portable Document Format File. And they're typically used to distribute documents that preserve the layout of a page. Okay, things like user manuals, ebooks, application forms, scanned documents, tax documents, because tax documents come in a certain format, and PDFs allow us to retain that format and not have it changed or degraded or changed at all. So we use PDFs a lot, and so does the CRA. PDFs were created by Adobe back in the 90s. And, how do you read a PDF file? Well, Adobe created something called Acrobat Reader, which is a free download, and it allows you to read any PDF file and be able to look at it. The other thing you should know as well, too, is that any web browser will read a PDF file. So whether you're using Google or Chrome or Safari or Firefox, any web browser is a PDF reader. Okay, it'll allow you to look at and read PDFs. Being able to edit PDFs, though, is a little bit different story. Typically, you need to have software to edit PDFs and to be able to make changes to them, to correct them, or to add things to the document. There's not a lot of free PDF editors. There are some out there. One really good one is called PDF Exchange Editor, and you can just Google that and look for free PDF editors. It's probably one of the better ones out there. There aren't a lot, though, so editing PDF files can be tricky sometimes. Creating PDFs is pretty easy, actually, because just about any document that you make can be saved as a PDF file. So if you create a document in a word processor or in a spreadsheet or things like that, like Word or Excel or some of the great Google free options that are online, you can save it to a PDF very easily and then send that off to people. So learning how to create PDFs, to manipulate them, to work with them, that's one of the first really important technology tools when it comes to contact free. The second one is something called Adobe Scan, and you'll recognize that name, Adobe. They're the ones who created PDFs in the first place. But they have a free app that you can download onto your smartphone or your iPad or tablet. And the great thing about this app is that it turns your smartphone or your iPad into a scanning tool. So it allows you to take pictures of documents. So if you have printed out tax documents at home and you want to get them to your accountant, go onto your app store, download Adobe Scan, and if you don't know how to use it or you can't quite figure it out, go to YouTube and just search for how do I use Adobe Scan. There's dozens of videos about how to use it. Some of them are quite good. In fact, on our homepage, pricecommon.ca, we have a video how to use Adobe Scan, because we try to encourage our clients to use it, because that way they can take pictures of their documents. It will convert them automatically to PDFs. They can then send them to us, and we can use those documents to do all of their tax filing information very quickly and easily. Okay, so Adobe Scan is one of the next great ones because, again, it allows you to use your phone or iPad to turn any of your physical documents into a digital PDF, and you can share that with your CRA or with your accountant. Tool number 3, and hopefully everybody already has one of these, but if you don't yet, you need an email address. To be able to work online digitally with an accountant or with CRA, you have to have an email address. And there are some great free ones out there. Gmail by Google is a very good free option for email. A lot of people use it. Outlook, if you go to outlook.com, they have a free version of the Outlook as well, and you can get an Outlook email, and it works very well also. So Gmail is the Google version. Outlook, you get a free. That's the Microsoft version. Both of them are quite user-friendly, and they do a good job as far as email providers go. Number 4 is using file sharing technology. Okay, so I said that you need to have an email. That is true, but you really don't want to email your tax documents because emails can be intercepted. Emails can be hacked by people, and so what we prefer is at Price and Common we actually use ShareFile, the one in the middle there. But these are 3 of the more common file sharing systems out there. We use ShareFile because we feel it's the most secure. And we have a portal on our website where our clients can go onto that portal and they select who they're working with, their accountant, and then they're able to very easily upload their files directly to that accountant. So the idea is that you put your files into ShareFile, they encrypt them, and then they send an alert to the accountant saying, hey, we've received some files for you. Please sign into your account and download them. So it's very difficult for someone to be able to intercept that or to get access to your information. And the thing with tax information, any of your documents, it's basically everything that someone would need to be able to steal your identity. So we try to take that very seriously. And using file sharing, secure file sharing, is very important if you're going to be using contactless or working contactless with an accounting firm. They are very simple. Again, if you can use online email programs, you can use a file sharing program. And finally, the last one is online signature tools. These are three of the top signature tools out there: DocuSign, PandaDoc, and Adobe Sign. At Price Common, we use Adobe Sign because we feel it's the easiest to use and for people to figure out. The interesting fact with COVID is now CRA has fully endorsed electronic signatures for tax documents. And so again, you can do your entire tax return, send all the information safely into your accountant, and then they can send the documents back to you. You can sign them on your phone or your iPad, and they get filed, and you get your return real quick. And it makes it so that you're safe and protected from exposure to any kind of virus or anything like that. So again, these are the five tools that I recommend and I think are the best out there. Here comes my last poll. And the question is true or false again. Adobe Scan is a completely free smartphone app that turns your phone or iPad into a portable document scanner. True or false? Come on, you guys are batting 1,000 so far. Don't let me down. Oh, I forgot to publish the poll already. Hold on a second. Here it comes. Sorry, I was distracted right while I was talking to you. My phone started buzzing, and there's the Alberta provincial alert for the new COVID restrictions that are going to be going in tomorrow. Crazy. Okay, excellent. Everybody, we got 100%. The right answer is true. It turns it into a portable scanner, document scanner. Great. Okay, folks, we're reached the end, and we're at we're at the end of our program. We have enough time for one question and answer if you've got one out there. Oh, I do see a comment here from one of the attendees that their daughter made an error on their taxes one year and they've been audited several times since. So yeah, that audit protection insurance can come in really handy. Thanks for that comment. Let me just look through and see if there are any good questions here. Part of that question was again about the price of audit protection. It varies from place to place. And again, I want to stress that not every accounting firm offers audit protection. For us at Price and Common, I'll answer that really quickly. We offer audit protection on personal tax. It is $25 per tax return. For business tax returns, it is different. It's priced a little differently. It goes from, depending on how much the business earns, it goes from between $125 to $500 per return. But that also includes, it covers all the personal tax returns of the people who own the business and things like that as well. So there is a lot of value in it. And again, like I said, you get up to $10,000 of coverage if you need that for an audit. And that is a lot of that. With $10,000, you can buy a lot of help from your accountant. to help you through that audit. Okay, well, it looks like there are no other questions that we can get to right now because we are coming up on the end of our hour. I want to thank everyone for being on the program today. And if you would like to get any more information about any of these items, you can contact me at Price Common, 403-388-1880. Either I or there's lots of great accountants there who can help you out. But again, thanks very much for attending and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.